Connecting Arizona. Live from the 12 News Studios at 200 East Van Buren. This is 12 News at 5. The news begins now.
Tonight, deputy down. A Maricopa County Sheriff's deputy fighting for his life. Plus another officer shot in the line of duty tonight is well enough to speak.
Because I was shot in the face, I truly believe that might be the end.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Curtis outside John C. Lincoln Hospital, which is a level 1 trauma center. And tonight, in this building behind me, an MCSO deputy is fighting for his life, as you heard. His name is Ruben Garcia. He was shot last night while on patrol. He's a 29-year veteran of the force, and tonight he could use all of our prayers as doctors try to save his life. We're going to learn more about what happened to Deputy Garcia in just a few moments. But incredibly, and the brighter news is across town, another police officer, Officer Chris Bennett of the Phoenix Police Force, he was also shot in the line of duty. Shot 6 times, in fact, on Sunday. 3 of the bullets hit his bulletproof vest, but 3 more pierced his body. But tonight he is doing very, very well. I want to go across town to St. Joseph's Hospital, where Aurelio Ortega is standing by with the latest on his condition. Aurelia?
Hi, Mark. Officer Bennett is doing extremely well, considering that yesterday at this time he was undergoing surgery after he was shot 3 times. Speaking to reporters this afternoon, Officer Bennett was accompanied by one of the surgeons who operated on him yesterday, as well as the medical director of St. Joseph's Trauma Center. His face bandaged and swollen where one of the bullets struck him. Another bullet hit him in the arm, and a third bullet, which struck him in the leg, is lodged in there still. But amazingly, even with his injuries, he was able to walk into the room on his own and was able to speak at length about his experience.
Because I was shot in the face, I truly believe that might be the end. And I immediately thought about my family and my children, that I may or may not be around for them, but thankfully the Phoenix Police Department does an amazing job training their officers, and I realized I wasn't, and I was able to fight back and push through that moment and do some things that I think ultimately led to my survival in part. Obviously I was wearing my ballistic vest, something I wear every single day. As everyone in the media knows, I received at least 2 shots center mass, which without that vest could have been lethal.
Officer Bennett wants to return to work as soon as possible. As far as when that'll happen, it's not known yet. He's got to wait for doctor's orders to clear him. Also coming up on Arizona Nightly News, find out what the second thing Officer Bennett thought about after his family. Reporting live from St. Joseph's Hospital, Aurelio Ortega, 12 News.
Aurelia, such good news about Officer Bennett, and we can only hope and pray, and from all of us at 12 News, we certainly do, that one day soon we'll have the same story about Deputy Garcia, who found himself, like Officer Bennett, in a gun battle last night. When these police officers and deputies go out and they leave home each day, they never know what's going to happen, if this is going to be the day that they wind up in a gun battle, and that was certainly the case for Deputy Garcia overnight. As we continue our coverage, let's go to Lisette Martinez with more on how it happened. Lisette?
Mark, this parking lot near 83rd Avenue and Deer Valley Road is where Deputy Ruben Garcia was shot. In fact, the suspect pulled into a gas station just feet from where I'm standing. That's where the deputy approached the suspect before the man opened fire, striking Garcia several times. The suspect then sped off with Peoria police right on his tail. 911 calls began pouring into dispatch. A sheriff deputy had been shot near 83rd Avenue and Deer Valley Road. Peoria police were the first to arrive on the scene.
They immediately started attending to the deputy and his injuries, waiting for medical assistance.
While paramedics made their way to Deputy Ruben Garcia, an unmarked police unit spotted the suspect's silver Ford pickup. Behind the wheel was 54-year-old Donald Miller, described by his girlfriend as threatening and suicidal.
When they initially tried to stop the suspect, he refused to stop and said he pulled into a desert area, started driving through the desert.
Miller got back on at 83rd Avenue and Happy Valley Road. Again, police ordered him to stop.
This time he began shooting at our officers. Our officers then returned fire.
When officers noticed the suspect wasn't moving, the SWAT team was called. The area roped off. Miller was found dead inside inside his vehicle.
We're not sure if he received a fatal injury through the exchange of gunshots or if perhaps it was self-inflicted.
There seems to be a war on law enforcement.
This is the fourth police shooting since Friday. Sheriff Joe Arpaio was by his deputy's side this morning. Doctors say he's in critical condition, too weak for surgery. Arpaio says more needs to be done to protect law enforcement on the streets.
You never know whether you're in Sun City or on Van Buren Street. You never know what's going to happen. That's the nature of the business. All we can do is give our deputies the proper equipment to at least help them defend themselves.
It's unclear if Deputy Garcia fired back at the suspect, but earlier today I was approached here at the scene by a man who described himself as a suspect's best friend. He was completely shocked by the news. He told me that this was out of Miller's character, but he did say that his friend was going down a dark road for a few years now. He said he was having financial problems, that his drywall business here in Peoria was not doing well, and that he had gotten a divorce 3 years ago, a divorce that he had not been able to recover from. In fact, I am told that it was his ex-wife who called police just after midnight yesterday, worried about Miller's well-being. We'll have more information about the suspect and about the investigation coming up at 6. Live in Peoria, Lisette Martinez, 12 News.
Lisette, thanks so much. You know, when we talk about the words officer down, deputy down, you think about the fate of the officer or the deputy, but you don't think about the ripple effect. But in the case of Deputy Garcia, this man was a father, a husband, a friend to his fellow officers. And when someone in law enforcement goes down, the whole community comes together. Ed Tribble joins us now as we continue our team coverage here at John C. Lincoln Hospital, which is, as I mentioned at the top of the newscast, a level 1 trauma center where Deputy Garcia was airlifted overnight. And Ed, you've been following the story of his condition. What's the latest?
Well, at the very latest, he's in critical but stable condition. We don't know exactly where on his body he was shot or how many times he was shot. We know that he's back here at John C. Lincoln fighting for his life.
Good, hard-working officer, yes.
Raina McDonald is the niece of Deputy Ruben Garcia. She got the phone call that no family member of law enforcement wants to get. Her uncle had been shot and was fighting for his life.
I heard it from my mom. She called me this morning, and she told me that he was in the hospital. And I'm here just to make sure he's okay.
Family members tell us Deputy Garcia is married with 2 sons and a daughter. Every night he puts on the uniform, he knows the dangers of the job. Sheriff Arpaio describes Deputy Garcia as an old-school cop, quote, tough as nails, a trait he will surely need as he recovers.
We're just praying that he can pull out of it. It's life-threatening.
Deputy Garcia's law enforcement family and his extended family all hoping and praying.
He's just a good, hard-working man, loves his job. I mean, he's been doing it for so long. Just wanted to get recovered from this situation.
And Mark, throughout the day, there's been a steady stream of deputies, police officers, and law enforcement stopping by here to talk to the family and trying to see Deputy Garcia. So that's something that's really encouraging to see.
All right. Obviously, Ed, our thoughts and prayers go out to the deputy and his family and all of his fellow officers. And this is really a tragic and a solemn day for MCSO because, as you know, it was just a year ago that Officer Bill Coleman was killed when he responded to a call and anthem. This morning, friends and loved ones returned to the scene of Coleman's death and honored him with the unveiling of a memorial in his name. 2 other deputies killed that shooter, and it was right here at the hospital where Officer Coleman was taken. It is very spooky when you think about this date in history. Not only Officer Garcia and Officer Coleman, but it was exactly a year ago today down in Tucson when what should have been a normal gathering for Congresswoman Gabby Giffords at a Safeway parking lot in Tucson turned into a horrible tragedy, the worst tragedy the city of Tucson has ever seen. Of course, we know that she was one of 12 people shot and badly injured on that day, but 6 people also lost their lives. The youngest, Christina Taylor Green, also Dorothy Morris, Phyllis Scheck, federal judge John Roll, Dorwin Stoddard. It was well chronicled. He died trying to protect his wife. And also Gabe Zimmerman, who worked for Gabby Giffords. Tonight, our thoughts and prayers are with all of those families and, of course, all of the victims. Lorraine Rivera continues our coverage. She's down in Tucson tonight with how that city is remembering this fateful day. Lorraine?
Mark, 2 years ago, there were thousands of mementos left on this lawn to honor the 19 shooting victims. But today, this was a place of healing.
We pray for anyone who bears scars from that day, that they may continue to be healed.
With heavy hearts, they stand strong together.
We pray for the first responders and the heroes at the scene who saved so many lives.
So many stories to remember.
Probably a blink of an eye between the first shot and the second shot. The second shot struck me in the chest, and as I was falling backward, another shot in the lower leg.
An emotional, physical, and spiritual journey they take every day, one at a time.
Another event would happen. It was just like the first event happening all over again.
And at 10:10, when the first shots rang out, bells rang 19 times for the victims and the survivors.
The vibration of the bells, it just, we live, and we should express it.
It's a day they can't shake from their memories.
And it was just a very routine morning, fairly slow actually. Saturdays in January can sometimes be that way. And it was totally unexpected.
January 8th, forever etched in their lives.
Of the thousands of mementos left here outside the University Hospital, many of them have been boxed up and archived, but at this point there are no definite plans for a permanent location. Mark, back to you.
All right, Lorraine, thanks so much. Of course, when you talk about the youngest victim of the Tucson shooting, Christina Taylor Greene, her mother, Roxana Greene, is now calling on leaders nationally to take a stand against gun violence. Roxana Greene is a very private person, so for her to step in front of this very public discussion shows you the depth of her concern on this issue. Here's some of what she said today.
20 heartbroken families lost a child in the Sandy Hook school shooting. I know how much it hurts. My 9-year-old daughter was murdered in the Tucson shooting. I have one question for our political leaders. When will you find the courage to stand up to the gun lobby? Whose child has to die next? To every mother, we cannot wait. We have to demand a plan. Go to demandaplan.org and add your name.
Of course, the big national face in front of this debate is former Congresswoman Gabby Gifford, and she and her husband, Mark Kelly, have launched a national campaign, almost a political action committee, to take action against the NRA and the gun lobbies nationally, to try to find some middle ground, some sensibility when it comes to guns and the talk about guns in America, especially in the wake of what we saw at Sandy Hook Elementary. Danielle Lee is live in Washington tonight with more on what this campaign hopes to accomplish. Danielle?
Mark, good evening. This new campaign hopes to raise enough money and also pressure to rival the powerful gun lobby. But already gun rights lobbyists they're speaking out.
Ringing bells marked the lives lost 2 years ago today in the Tucson shooting that severely wounded Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. She and her husband, Mark Kelly, are marking the anniversary by launching Americans for Responsible Solutions to Stop Gun Violence. Already, thousands are rallying behind the new campaign, including Patricia Maish, who helped stop the Tucson shooter.
If this doesn't change it, what will? We're going to fight the good fight.
In a USA Today opinion piece, Giffords and Kelly say they hope to raise enough money to rival the National Rifle Association. Writing legislators will no longer have reason to fear the gun lobby. In response to the Newtown school massacre, Vice President Joe Biden is heading a task force to consider new gun laws. He'll meet with key players in the gun debate this week, including the NRA.
Vice President's group will assess different actions, make recommendations, and the President will decide what he would like to pursue.
Colin Goddard with the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence will also meet with Biden.
So we really need to look at, how easy it is for dangerous people to get their hands on a gun.
Gun rights advocates are already pushing back.
It's a delusion to believe in this utopia where legislation, any law, can fix all problems.
Larry Ward is planning a Gun Appreciation Day for January 19th. He hopes it will stunt any attempts at stricter legislation.
And already President Obama has called on Congress to consider reinstating that assault weapons ban, also closing loopholes on background checks for gun buyers, restricting those high-capacity magazines, and improving mental health care coverage. Reporting live in Washington, I'm Danielle Lee. Mark, back to you.
All right, Danielle, thanks so much from Washington. And again, maybe some middle ground, some common ground can be found in this debate on guns in this country. Again, here at John C. Lincoln Hospital in North Phoenix, Deputy Ruben Garcia is fighting for his life. Tonight, he's in critical but stable condition after being shot while on patrol overnight. We'll continue coverage here later on in this newscast and again at 6. But for now, we'll toss it back to Lynn Sue.
Thanks, Mark. Still ahead on 12 News at 5, a tough day in court and the Jodi Arias trial as evidence is laid out. Plus, big news for the Cardinals. The team has hired a general manager. What that could mean for the coach search just ahead.
And it was a pretty typical January day out there today. We topped out at 67 degrees. 66 is the normal. 39 was our low this morning. Tonight it's going to be chilly again. 32 to 42 around the valley. We'll see clear skies and winds coming out of the northeast. Now tomorrow we're actually going to warm up a little bit. 65 to 70. We've got a major cool down in the forecast. Your 7-day forecast is coming up a little bit later.
The killer romance trial took a detour from the salacious to focus on graphic testimony about a gruesome death. Still, the graphic evidence made it an emotional day in the Jodi Arias murder case. Chris Williams was there for much of the day. Tonight he joins us from the Information Center. Chris?
Lynn Sue, this day focused on crime scene and autopsy photos. The stomach-churning information was too much for the victim's family and the woman at the focus of this trial being watched around the world.
What are we looking at here? We're looking at a side view of the head, again showing the projectile.
X-rays, autopsy photos, signs of mummification. Too much for Jodi Arias to handle, way too much for Travis Alexander's sisters, who were forced to leave the courtroom in disgust. The most important facts were debated with the medical examiner, who described dozens of injuries, 3 of which would have killed in minutes.
And you can see what would appear to be blood, right?
But defense attorney Jennifer Wilmot chipped at the ME, trying to use testimony of a detective against the state's case that the gunshot came last. She must prove self-defense if she's going to save her client from the death penalty. But even under tough cross-examination, the medical examiner stuck to his story. Some of the stab wounds were to the victim's back, not something typical of a person being fought off by a victim fighting for her life. The medical examiner appeared frustrated with the cross-examination, responding that one question was tough to answer because the autopsy was, quote, 10 years ago. The defense attorney smiled, reminding him it was only 4.5 years ago. But in a case where a family is sitting through testimony like this, one can only imagine how justice seems to take an eternity. Live in the Information Center, Chris Williams, 12 News.
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, you can watch the live stream of the Arias trial on azcentral.com, plus get more insight into this trial. Next on 12 News at 5, meet the new leader of the Arizona Cardinals, why you might like this new guy. Kevin Hunt is up next.
And high pressure is going to actually warm us up tomorrow. We're going to get up to 69 degrees. We'll see lots of sunshine, but some major changes coming as we head into Thursday. Winds will pick up. We'll have slight chances of rain as we head into Thursday night and into Friday. And take a look at these temperatures during the day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're in the 50s, but what about the morning lows? They're going to be below freezing at Phoenix Sky Harbor and in the 20s in other parts of the valley. And we'll have your featured forecast coming up next.
Welcome back to 12 News at 5, everyone. So glad you can join us. Big news today, Kevin. Big news for the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals filled one of their spots that they have open as expected today. Arizona Cardinals promote VP of Player Personnel Steve Keim to their new general manager. The Cards had looked at other candidates, but Keim, well respected around the league and considered the front runner. Here's my favorite moment from Keim's news conference today.
I'd like to just try to instill confidence, a winning mentality. My competitiveness and drive. When I was sitting at our game against Seattle this year and lost 58-0, and making a pact with myself that that'll never happen again.
Now, for those of you uneasy about a Cards insider getting the job, at least the story is out there that in 2006 NFL Draft, Keim preferred to take Jay Cutler over Matt Leinart. 10th for the Cards. Cutler was 11th to Denver. In the 2007 draft, Keim wanted Adrian Peterson over Levi Brown, but again overruled. Brown 5th by the Cards, Peterson 7th by the Vikings. Now, if that's true, another reason to like Keim. ASU got some great news today. ASU All-American defensive tackle Will Sutton, many expected would jump to the NFL draft, instead announced he'll stay for his senior season. Lindsay?
All right, Kevin, thanks. And stay with us. We're going to be right back with tonight's featured forecast.
Once again, Mark Curtis reporting live outside of John C. Lincoln Hospital in North Phoenix. John C. Lincoln is a level 1 trauma center, and overnight, MCSO Deputy Ruben Garcia was airlifted here after being shot. He's fighting for his life right now. What we can tell you is that he's in critical but stable condition after being airlifted here. We don't know the extent of his wounds, but law enforcement community all over the valley, they're praying for this 29-year veteran, as are we. And of course, today marks the 2-year anniversary of the tragic shooting down in Tucson. 6 people killed on that fateful day, 12 others hurt. Tonight we're hearing from former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who was the target of that shooting, as she gets ready for a national fight against the NRA. Those stories and more as we continue our coverage when we see you at 6 o'clock. Lindsay?
All right, thank you, Mark. Of course, our prayers are with Deputy Garcia. Today's featured forecast almost looks like 2 photographs in one.
It does. This one is from Canyon de Chelly, which I talk about on the weather map all the time, but I've never actually been there. And this is Spider Rock from Robert Warrington. You can see the snow there, and then it looks like in the foreground there, that beautiful canyon. Now, our forecast, Lindsay, is looking good tomorrow. 69. It's going to be a great day. Changes coming on Thursday with winds, chances of rain, and then very cold this weekend. Will be below freezing in almost all areas of the valley.
And not good for your voice. Save your voice.
I know.
Nightly's next. We'll see you back here at 6, everyone.